Welcome, everyone, to the NHPPA Show for August 2026. I'm Jason Dahl, and I'm your host tonight, along with Eric Clegg.
Howdy, howdy.
Great to see so many joining us from all over the country. Let me know where you're watching from tonight. Shawn and Teresa Buckley are in Ottawa right now, working on major events that most of you probably know about. For those of you joining us for the first time, I'd like to highlight that the Q&A portion of today's show is exclusive to our live shows. So be sure to post your questions in the chat throughout the show this evening. And even though Shawn isn't here tonight, we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. We have a special guest tonight that you will all want to hear from. So without further ado, let's bring up Josh Prefontaine. Josh, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Good, good. We assume you're not practicing traditional Chinese medicine right now.
No, I'm not. I'm in Squamish, BC right now, hanging out with my family. So I'm on break.
Nice. Excellent. So it's so doubly good of you to join us again. We had you back on the show in April, I believe. And
Yes.
So first off, Josh, when we spoke to you, you were a traditional Chinese medicine doctor in training. Can you update us on the status of your training?
Yeah, so I finished school, and then I finished school about a couple months ago, or no, more like 3 or 4 months ago. And then my wife and I moved down from Calgary to Lethbridge, and then we built out a traditional Chinese medicine clinic down there. And so I've just been busy with that these last couple months. And it's called Forward Health and Vitality in Lethbridge. And yeah, it's been really great. It's been a lot of work, but it's been really, really fun to finish school and then to go and move. And, we bought a house down there, and then to start my practice and start helping people with everything that I've learned over the past 4 years. And so, yeah, it's been a really, really great experience. And I've already got to help a decent amount of people. And so it's been amazing, honestly.
Wow. So congratulations on finishing. So that was a 4-year course?
Thank you. Yes, 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 4-year acupuncture and then herbal medicine. And so my practice, primarily what I'm trying to build it around, is Chinese herbal medicine. And so I've just been getting into educating people about what Chinese herbs can do on my social media, and then really trying to emphasize that part of my practice because it is such a powerful part of traditional Chinese medicine that everybody who I speak to knows what acupuncture is for the most part, but very few people have used Chinese herbs for treating chronic illness. And so that has been the focus of my practice, has been finding and helping people with chronic illness, primarily with the use of Chinese herbs, just because they are so efficacious in their ability to help people.
Did it include acupuncture as well at your clinic?
Yes, I do a fair bit of acupuncture as well. I primarily use acupuncture for treating patients who have chronic pain because it does work excellent for that. And that's how I primarily use acupuncture.
It's funny, in my lifetime, I've seen acupuncture go from being treated as, kind of a Chinese thing, a woo thing, to now it's regularly part of professional athletes' regimes
Yes.
and stuff like that. So obviously
Yes.
there's something to it. It's been a long struggle. So what letters did you get for your name? Are you Dr. Prefontaine now?
Yeah, the degree is a doctor of acupuncture. And so that's I guess the title that I got was a doctor of acupuncture. And the other title I use is herbalist. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to and kind of how my practice has been going. It's been a really amazing thing getting to help people with this medicine, especially coming out of school and going right to starting a clinic. It's been a very humbling experience because there's been so many things that you just don't learn while you're in school that you, especially as a small business owner, you just basically get thrown to the wolves. And the funny part is that in Canada we don't have, if you were to do a program like I completed in China, you would have there'd be a residency at the end of the program, and so you would shadow a more senior doctor, and you would gradually get more advanced cases given to you. But in North America, because we don't have a residency program, because Chinese medicine is still fairly niche, starting a clinic, you basically are given the most difficult cases that you can imagine right off the bat, and you're expected to solve them. And so it's been very humbling, to say the least, but it's been also very good as well, because you get to challenge yourself every time you go into work, and really focus and try and help as many people as you can.
Wow.
Not only
So
that, you have to learn about running a business too, right? So that's
And there's all the things about running a business. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and so I have always been around business owners, but there's nothing like starting your own thing to make you really appreciate how difficult it is. But I'm doing it and it's going fairly well. And so you just don't quit, and you just wake up every day and keep making incremental improvements in whatever you did the day before, and that's all you can do.
did you
I'm also-
find that? Go
sorry,
ahead.
No, I was
Eric?
just going to say, I'm curious because you said you did 4 years of Chinese medicine, but what education did you have before that? Was it another
I have
type of?
I have a bachelor's degree as well.
Okay, so in as a doctor type situation, or
It
you don't
used
have
to
to have a
be
medical degree beforehand, or?
the program used to be you had to have 2 years of undergrad in Canada
Okay.
before you went to Chinese medicine school. But since COVID, a lot of the schools changed that requirement. So now people can go right out of high school. Prior
Okay.
to that, you needed to have 2 years of an undergrad degree. I have a bachelor's degree in business management, and then I went from that degree to acupuncture. Um, but depending on the country you're on, honestly, because it is a niche profession, there are the requirements for the educational programs vary quite a lot between country to country. And so if you were to go somewhere like Europe, I believe they require you to have some kind of undergrad in a medical degree, like a bioscience, or even be a medical doctor to learn acupuncture. In the parts of the States, you don't even need to have a license to practice acupuncture. Uh, Actually, I may be wrong in saying that. I believe every state has a licensing body for acupuncture, but there are other aspects that are not as regulated as it is in Canada. It's just kind of a mixed bag of regulation, as you know, many holistic professions are, depending on what country they're in. You know, the requirements vary so widely.
And between provinces as well, I guess it's
And
a lot
yeah,
different.
and between provinces as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like the herbal medicine in Alberta is not regulated yet, but in Ontario it is regulated. So you can you can prescribe herbs in Alberta without needing to without having a licensing body, but in Ontario you can prescribe herbs, or you cannot prescribe herbs unless you have a additional, I guess, set of exams that you have to pass. And so varies widely between provinces. In the future, I'd like to see the profession to become more consolidated and to have more of a a more thorough standard across the board. And but I mean, that's just, that's what these holistic professions are. There's there's very wide degrees of varying regulations between each province and each country. So that's just what it is right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, each province and each state regulates, normal, or I shouldn't say normal, allopathic medicine on their own terms.
Mhm.
So you're not federally regulated, so there's always going to be some stretch and wiggle between various regions as far as what it takes to
Mhm.
become a practitioner. I'd hate for mainstream to jump on this and talk about how wildly unregulated TCM is and acupuncture is. I mean, the regulations are still there. In fact, I wanted to ask you if you felt the long fingers of the current regulatory environment in Canada reaching into both your teaching and your practice. Do you feel pressures, things you can't learn, things you can't talk about, etc.?
Honestly, like I'm I grew up in the States, and so I would classify myself more as like a libertarian. So like I don't like government regulations. Like I just don't. I believe that, like, I'm happy that there's regulations for my profession. Obviously for acupuncture it's important because you can, and herbal medicine too, because you can injure people, and people who are not trained should not be practicing it. But in that same breath, I don't like over regulation and federal involvement in these professions, because the Canadian government, and it was the first time I came on the show, we talked about Bill C-223, I believe it was, and the natural health product bill, and the kinds of fines and fees that they were implementing in that budget bill. And it seems like that one's since been put on hold, but it's just these it's just these it's just these overreaches, these like constant small infringements. The federal government is always trying to find a way that they can just nickel and dime the common man into poverty. And especially like in Canada, and that's just how socialist countries work, is that we are under the thumb of the federal government just in so much more than in the United States. And so in my profession, I feel it in the sense, the most I ever felt federal overreach was during those debates on Bill C-223. And I was really worried about the future of Chinese herbal medicine in Canada, because they were just proposing such preposterous fees in that bill. And it was absolutely ridiculous to expect that uh, any kind of herbal supplier of Chinese herbs was going to be able to absorb any of those costs. It was completely ridiculous.
And we're looking at Health Canada again doing that particular action now with compounding. Have you been following that
Yes,
event at all? Is
I
that going to
did.
affect PCM?
Based on the research that I did, I don't believe that it's going to affect Chinese herbal medicine.
Oh, okay.
But again, it's just these, we don't even need to be on, we don't even need to be a part of we can regulate ourselves. We don't need, the federal government to come and just nickel and dime us to death with all of these regulations that they want to put on the profession. We don't need that. We don't need more oversight. We need to just be left to self-govern ourselves, because the people who practice this profession, they're the ones who are the most competent in terms of regulating it. We don't need the federal government to regulate it. The amount of, I strongly believe that the less government interference in this profession, the better. And that's pretty much my stance on all of it, honestly.
Yeah, and
I
as
agree.
Shawn pointed out in his brief to the government, he considers they're trying to jump in on compounding to be illegal,
Yeah,
since the federal government has no jurisdiction in this matter whatsoever. But they're still going ahead and trying over and
mhm,
over and over again, trying to clamp down on what natural health product makers, users, practitioners can't do, wildly increase the costs to
yeah,
no gain whatsoever. To no gain whatsoever, except to, I don't know, potentially bankrupt people who are trying to do this.
yeah. And at the end of the day, you just you have to run your business in a way to where you can you can be successful and you can keep up with with these fees and these regulations. You have to basically out earn any kinds of problems that the federal government can throw at you. Because if you get into this profession and you're already and you're bad at business, I mean, like any profession, good luck. But especially this one, you have to be business savvy if you want to be any kind of holistic medicine practitioner, because you're always have these looming additional fees, whether it's the cost of the medicine that you're prescribing going up or any other kind of fee that it takes to run your practice. You're always getting inundated with these small and large government fees. And so you have to be uh, a kind of, well, a savvy business owner. You can't basically get into this profession and be naive and think that everything's just going to be taken care of for you. You have to really be aware of what your costs are, and just be a good business owner, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, yeah, and so Slavica in the comments brings up an interesting point. I'd like to bring it in as a question. She's saying we do need to make sure that there is responsibility for malpractice. How does that work in
We all have
PCM?
malpractice insurance.
Right.
Everybody who's a regulated acupuncturist, a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, even in Alberta, where we don't have, where we're not, the herbal medicine part of things is not regulated by a college, we still have malpractice insurance for herbal medicine. So, all of us, everybody who's a practitioner has honestly quite substantial amounts of malpractice insurance, even though we don't really use it ever, because at the end of the day, what we do is very safe. Like, we don't have the negative repercussions of our medicine at a fraction of the amount as Western medicine, where they're constantly injuring people and they need to have these insurance plans that cover enormous amounts of malpractice. We have it, but it's it's more of it's just a safety net that we're
Mm.
required to have versus something that is actively being used by a lot of different practitioners. Like I don't think there's ever been a lawsuit in Canada for someone suing a Chinese herbal medicine practitioner
Right.
for malpractice. I honestly looked it up because I was getting the insurance and I was like, is this even a thing? And it's like, there's not a single record. Acupuncture is a bit different because you have people who have, injured people with acupuncture, but with Chinese herbal medicine, I don't think there's a single recorded case of like a successful lawsuit that's been filed against a TCM
Right.
doctor.
And at the end of the day, the process would be exactly the same as if you were injured in surgery,
Yeah.
as if you were injured. You just the claim starts and off you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great, got that covered.
I'm curious, actually, before you go on about the acupuncture, how it actually works. You say you could get injured from that, but how does it actually work? What happens when those needles go in? And I'm just
Honestly,
curious
that's just inexperienced practitioners, people who should have known better based on the cases that I have read. That they're needling points that are close to vital organs. And so there's this one particular point that a lot of practitioners needle in, or not a lot, some, very few, because there's not that many lawsuits. I don't want to misspeak here, but they needle on the upper trapezius here, and you're supposed to needle that at an angle and pull up the muscle just to keep it away from the lung. But some people, they'll needle it perpendicular straight down and they'll nick the top of the lobe of the lung. And that's pretty much what's gotten, if there has been a problem with an acupuncturist, and it's usually from needling that point. In my practice, I use distal acupuncture. So every point that I use, I can treat the entire body for pain just by needling the wrists and ankles. Like I never have to go near a vital organ. And that's why I was always confident in my ability to avoid needling someone's, lung, or my ability to avoid it. But I wanted to learn it just because it's much more convenient from a practitioner standpoint, because if you want to treat, some Chinese medicine clinics, they'll see upwards to 100 patients a day. And so if every patient who comes into that clinic has to disrobe and lie underneath, like similar to when you go and get a massage, you have to take your shirt off and lie underneath a blanket. If 100 people had to do that, you would have no way of treating that many patients. And so I want to treat a lot of patients in my clinic every day. And so I've learned this style of acupuncture to where you can treat all chronic pain just from needling the wrists and ankles. And it's extremely efficient and it's very effective because it works really, really quickly in terms of getting a result. The patients can typically experience about an 80 to 90% reduction in their pain within a couple seconds of the needles going in. And they never have to disrobe. They basically can sit in a chair or they can lie on their back on the table, and it's just very convenient. And so it's in my viewpoint, it's a superior way of practicing acupuncture just because it is so effective and it's so convenient for so many people.
And is that like a temporary relief from the
Nope.
pain, or is that end up being a permanent thing?
After enough sessions, it can be permanent.
Really?
Yeah. For chronic pain. If it's a neuropathic pain, where it's pain that's concentrated or just in the nervous system, it's from a nerve that is firing and has not been able to calm down because it's had something rub against it, or it has just been it's just basically firing out of control. If it's that kind of neuropathic pain, acupuncture, depending on how long the problem's been going on for, dictates how many sessions it is, but you can get the pain to go away if it's neuropathic. If it's due to a structural issue, like a disc pressing on a nerve in your back or bone on bone, like some people some patients will have osteoarthritis where there's no disc left and it's just bone on bone. You can get pain relief with that, but it's not going to be permanent because there is a structural issue. If there's a structural issue, you will not be able to get the pain to go away because that person likely needs surgery. But if it's a neuropathic pain, you can get the pain to go away permanently. And
Wow,
most pain is neuropathic. So,
Okay.
90% of pain is neuropathic.
Because I
And
do
so
know somebody who's going through that issue right now. So I'm just curious about how that works. Really, you're actually going into the nerves with the needles, or you're going into
the way
what-
that acupuncture works is that you're needling into basically fascial networks. And so we have the meridians and the channels that we learn in school. And some people believe that those are literal structures that we haven't discovered yet, that modern Western anatomy hasn't discovered yet. My personal belief is that what they were referring to in the ancient Chinese texts that we were taught from in school was simply the fascial system, the muscle system, the nervous system, and we're essentially affecting change through those structures. That there's no, my personal belief is that there is no meridians or channels, but we're affecting change in basically fascia, muscles, nerves, and that's how the pain relief, the enkephalins and the other pain relieving factors that the brain releases when you insert a needle, that is what is directly responsible for the pain relief. So,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, that's essentially how my understanding of how acupuncture works.
Right, and it's just through the wrists and the ankles, which that's pretty amazing, really.
Yeah, because the whole body can be mapped just on from the wrist down to the elbow here, and then from the ankle up to the back of the knee. That entire all those areas, I never needle past the elbow or the knee because the entire body can be treated just on those structures. And so the wrists have a very high concentration of nerves and fascia and all of these structures concentrated in them. And so when you put a needle in there, you can affect change throughout the entire system. And so it's a very, very effective and interesting form of practicing. I find that it's very fun to practice in this way because you can affect such great change with it.
So the fascia is basically just tissue that's surrounding the muscles and the organs, correct?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's very cool.
Follow-ups, Eric?
Oh, I just find it fascinating, and I'm curious because I do know somebody who's suffering from a few different issues. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to find out a bit more. So
yeah.
Considering the average age of us and our audience, everybody's got a chronic pain.
Oh yeah.
we should all book an appointment.
Yeah,
So
totally.
Basically, Chinese medicine is a combination of acupuncture and the herbal part, correct?
The way that I practice it, yes, but many practitioners also incorporate tuina, which is Chinese massage, cupping, moxibustion, bloodletting. There's many other modalities that other practitioners incorporate into their practice for their patients. The way that my practice runs is I use acupuncture for pain, for chronic pain and acute pain, and I use herbs for everything else.
Okay.
So for internal medicine issues. So if somebody comes to me and they have chronic digestive issues, then they will be an herbal patient. You can treat internal medicine issues with acupuncture, and there are many incredible Chinese medicine physicians who can treat people with acupuncture for internal medicine conditions, but I just prefer using herbs just because they work much quicker and they require less time from the patient coming in for acupuncture sessions.
And probably a lot less side effects than you would have with our standard medical system and the medications, correct? Using the
Honestly,
herbs.
the sickest people I see are the ones who are the most into Western medicine.
Yeah.
The people who have who are have the most issues are the ones who have been using Western medicine for their primary form of healthcare for their for the majority of their lives. I don't know why well, I do know why, but the obsession with all of the different kinds of medications for all of the different kinds of symptoms. Eventually, you have people who are on 10 or 15 different medications, and it's just they're the sickest of the patients that you see. And that's just, yeah, unfortunately, that's just how the vast majority of people who finally decide that this isn't working anymore, I need to try something else. Then they wind up in my office, and it's like, okay, doctor, I will give you, I have been going, the funniest thing, I've started making this joke, but it's kind of funny. It's basically, a person will come to you and they will tell you that I am so sick. I've tried everything. I'm so sick. I'm on all these different medications. And you'll ask them, you'll be like, your Western doctor has you on all these things. I was like, do you like your Western doctor? They'll be like, oh, I love him. He's the best. He has my best interests in mind. And yet they're sitting in front of you telling you how sick they are and how done they are with the Western care system, but they will tell you how much they love their doctor when their doctor is nothing more than a glorified drug dealer. And it's the cognitive dissonance between those two things. There are great Western medicine physicians. There are, because I've met them, and they are phenomenal. I have a massive respect for surgeons and emergency medical doctors. But when you just have these doctors who are just prescribing a pill for an ill, I have zero respect for that. And so I think what I do with my social media is I will post sometimes. I try and shift that cognitive dissonance between the person thinking that they're healthy because they're on a cocktail of medications, versus what's actually healthy, which is, real health is very simple. It's being healthy. Some people need medications. I have no illusions about that, but there are many medications that people should not be on that they can simply get better just by exercising regularly and eating a diet filled with nutritious whole foods. Good health is extremely simple.
I don't want to hog all the questions, Jason, but I do have another question. So if somebody comes into to see you and they're on this 10 or 15 drug cocktail, do you have a solution for each drug, or is it a global solution? And do you suggest to them that they get off all these drugs, or do you suggest one at a time, or how does that work? Is there a replacement, an herbal replacement for specific medications?
Depending on their presenting patterns, I will just treat their presenting patterns, and I will encourage them as we go along that they have that conversation with their Western medical doctor, because what I find so often is what will happen is they'll be on these medications for many years, and their doctor will just refill these medications, honestly, without even thinking about it. Like there'll be no conversation. I see it a lot with patients who have problems sleeping, is that they'll be on a sleep aid for decades. And it was like, why did you get prescribed the sleep aid? Because at this one point in my life, I was having problems sleeping. And now 20 years later, they're wholly dependent on this sleep aid to sleep. And they're extremely habit forming. And there's no conversation in those 20 years of going to whoever, Dr. John, that he never asked this person if they wanted to come off the sleep aid or come off XYZ medication because there's just no conversation. It seems like as soon as they get on these medications, they just take them forever until basically they decide to stop because their doctor, from my understanding, is not having that conversation with them. I'm sure there are doctors who are having that conversation, but the ones that I have come into contact with are not.
I've noticed that over the years, an increasing number of medications and diseases are just automatically considered chronic for life. And
Yeah.
we're giving you these meds and that's it. If they're horrific for you, maybe they'll switch you out onto another set that are themselves going to be chronic medications that you're on for the rest of your life. Ludicrously expensive. And no follow-up, no nothing. Just here's the meds. Basically, don't
Yeah.
bug me again unless they're killing you.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is tragic.
The model of care with that is it's so broken. It's unbelievable, honestly. And I see so many people who it's so simple. I don't believe that there's no hope. When somebody tells me that the doctor said that there's no hope, this is just how it's going to be for the rest of their life, I don't believe that. I mean, I could be wrong, but in my heart and in my soul, I don't believe that. That if it's something that developed later in life, that there has to be a reason for it developing. You know, so many of these autoimmune conditions and these conditions that Western doctors say that are going to be with these people for their whole life. I see people getting better from them all the time using Chinese medicine. I know some incredible Chinese medicine physicians who are changing the course of people's health using Chinese herbs and acupuncture, putting diseases and syndromes and all of these other conditions that are quote unquote for life into remission, and the person going on their merry way and living a happy, healthy life. Because, you know, so much healing it can be done through these modalities, but a lot of it is in here. It's in your head. You have to believe that you can get better. If you don't believe that you can get better, you're not going to get better. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you choose to seek care from a Western provider or a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. If you don't believe that you can get better, that you can overcome chronic illness, you won't.
And all too often under the allopathic model, you're being told by the expert that there's no
Yes.
hope.
And when
You
an
know,
expert is telling you that there's no hope, man, that's a death sentence for a lot of people.
Time to find a new expert at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
know.
also curious, you know, last time you were mentioning that you would see results. I don't know how long you said exactly, but it seemed pretty quick when you start to see the results after you come up with the diagnosis. And I'm not sure how you would actually diagnose somebody, but maybe you could just.
Well, it's a Chinese medical diagnosis. And so I see the person, I do, my diagnostic tools are Chinese medical pulse diagnosis and tongue diagnosis, as well as asking questions, making observations of the patient sitting in front of me. And then I make a Chinese medical diagnosis, and then I prescribe herbs accordingly for that. If the prescription is correct, and my initial hypothesis of working theory of what's wrong with this patient is correct, then many times I see results within a week, 2 weeks. The time that it takes to have those patterns corrected permanently is several months. And so you have to let the patient know that they're going to be taking these herbs for several months. But at the end of those several months, you're not going to have to take them at all. and then you're going to come off of them, and then you're going to be, these patterns that I'm seeing are going to be corrected, and you're not going to have to deal with these symptoms anymore. There may be periods of maintenance where you need to have a small maintenance dose of herbs or acupuncture or whatever it is to keep you centered, but you're not going to be experiencing the degree of symptoms that you initially came to me for.
Right. I remember you last time you were on the show, you were talking about how your goal is to not see your patients anymore, right? After you've seen them, after you've treated them, you don't want to be seeing them every few months, right?
And I'm finding the more that I get into this medicine, or any kind of medicine, that's maybe a bit of a unique perspective. I didn't think that was going to be the case, but when I was in school, I did a lot of education outside of school, and I learned from some really, really incredible doctors. And that was their philosophy, was that their goal was to not see the person after their style of treating people was to treat them, basically throw the kitchen sink at them, give them everything they got, ask on the part of the patient that they commit to care, and then the deal was at the end of that course of care that they would send them on their way. And that is, I practice from a standpoint of necessity to produce results in a timely manner, and to also discharge the patient after my course of care that I have for them in my head and that we've discussed is complete. And that's simply how I believe. Obviously, there's cases where you will have to see certain patients throughout their lives just because they require a bit more maintenance from you and a bit more care. But if it's a condition that's responding well to treatment, I don't see the need to tell the person that they need to keep coming to see me, as long as I treat them with the amount of treatment that they need in the beginning of when they seek my help. As long as I don't as long as I come up with a plan for them that is actually going to get them better and that they are committed to, then if we're both on that same page, then we can do incredible things. And so my clinic's not for everybody in that way, because not everybody is willing to commit to that level of care. And it is a commitment on the part of the patient, because they're coming to see you. If it's an acupuncture patient, they're coming to see you 2 to 3 times a week, right, for several months. With herbs are a bit more convenient because they don't require as much of a time commitment, but it's a commitment nonetheless. But if you find when you find those patients who are truly on board with what you're doing, then you can make incredible things happen for their health.
Right. And I guess they can actually use some of the herbs that they have in their kitchen, right? Or is it something a bit more specific?
What I prescribe is very specific to the person, but I definitely, in terms of like herbs, like for cooking, sure, I teach them about diet and about how to eat correctly. And I do a lot of a diet therapy coaching for my patients, because things that seem intuitive to some people are not so intuitive to others. And so a lot of people need to be coached through how to eat correctly. But I'm very much I'm kind of a no BS kind of practitioner. I expect that the people who work with me, that they put their best foot forward at all, because I want to attract people who are serious about resolving what's going on with them.
Yeah, they've got to do the work themselves as well.
They also have to do the work. Yeah.
That's fair. So
Yeah.
we're running out of time here. You've got an hour, and then you got to go catch some fish or climb up a mountain or something like that.
Yeah, I think we're going. Yeah.
Nice. In your last appearance, we brought you on because you wrote the first practitioner's brief in support of C224. And
Mhm.
to update you, in case you hadn't been updated, we're at 42 briefs now, which is
Oh,
bringing us
amazing.
now, bringing us in line with some of the super big controversial bills, like the censorship bills that are up before Parliament now, and everyone's arguing about. We've got a similar number of briefs in for it now, which is fantastic.
Amazing.
So
That's
so when the
awesome.
committee returns, it's going to be kabam, a big stack of briefs put down in front of them. So we want to thank you for starting that off.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you went on to put onus squarely on practitioners themselves to follow suit and take up the fight. Do you feel like that message is landing with clients, or are we still waiting for they're just waiting for somebody else to still handle the politics?
Honestly, I'm starting to feel like it is landing, because I did have several conversations with people after that were really positive, and that they submitted briefs, that they had actually gone out and submitted briefs. And so I misspoke at the beginning of this interview. I said Bill C-223, but it's Bill C-224. The
Our system makes it so hard to remember what bill you're even
There's
angry
so many
about.
bills. I
And
know
they're all
there's so many
C, and they're
bills.
all little numbers, and it's all
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
but it is landing, and people, at the end of the day, people can only care about so many things. And so I do hope that if they do choose to care about something, a bill that's going through Parliament, if they're a practitioner, that they choose to care about this one, because at the end of the day, we are all only capable of caring for so many things. But I hope that this can be one of them for practitioners, because it is important. And if you're going to live in Canada, you have to be involved in the government here, because our government loves to overreach, and uh, they love to just constantly try and be mom and dad. And
Yeah, and they
some
try to
people
skip
like, yeah,
they try to
some people
skip
like that.
around the rules. They
Yeah,
even try to skip around our legislative body that we rely on to, at least to some degree, represent us, maybe in scare quotes.
yeah,
To that degree, they're constantly trying to go around them, which is how we got into this position with the self-care framework and
yeah,
Vanessa's law applying to natural health products. They snuck them in the budget.
That's
So
it.
yeah,
C-224 will at least pull back some of the damage that was done before, and then we'll have to go on to the next fight to make sure we
yep,
just go back to the days when we were under the Food and Drug Act as far as natural health products and practices go.
yep.
So that being said, before we go, we've got to shout out your social media. You're running an active, successful social media. There's a QR code up to scan to go to Josh's Instagram. I wanted to ask you, now that you're well into it, what do you feel works best? Little stories from work, data, or calls to action? What do you find lands the best? Or do you do dances?
I don't do any dancing. The thing that I find works best is, honestly, talking head videos where I talk about something. I find that those, if they're done correctly, they can resonate really well. But I also do a lot of short form content where I just do a short video with a text overlay. Those do well also. But yeah. Anyways, I think my laptop, or my phone here is about to die, and so I want to sign off quickly before I'm stranded out here in the middle of the woods with no
Yep.
cell phone.
All right. Great. Well, thanks for coming back, and we'll have you back again for further updates and further
Yeah,
actions in the future. It's been an
yeah.
honor, Dr. Josh
Oh,
Prefontaine.
thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Another series of questions for you. I
Yeah,
only got
absolutely.
a few of them. Yeah, I've got a lot
Okay.
of questions. Anyways, very interesting. Thanks a lot.
Oh,
Thanks a lot. Have
perfect. Thank
fun
you
out there.
guys. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. All right. Well, great. We got to learn a lot more about TCM and Josh's journey.
Yeah.
So you still had a lot of questions, eh?
Oh yeah, I've got a whole list. I got through maybe 3 of them, but yeah. I look forward to the next time. I find it fascinating. Very fascinating.
Yeah, that was great. Could have done 2 hours on that, but hey, we only got so much time in life. And if you're ready, I think it's time to talk about the feed and what's going on NHPPA social media.
All right.
Eric, what do you got for us? What's going on in the world? Crazy world of socials.
Crazy world. Yeah, it's been a busy few months in various different projects, but as always, I was thinking it was just going to be a short few words tonight, but as I start preparing, it turns into an hour-long thing. So I have had to edit it down a little bit. So I'll try and keep it short. Right. So basically, the main campaigns right now are focusing on Bill C-224, of course, Charter of Health Freedom. But in the socials, we're mixing in some interesting interviews and different topics related to health freedom. So I was just curious to see who was engaging the most with what, likes, reposts, comments, etc. And on X, it seems the posts that travel farthest are the ones about doctor shortages, Health Canada's compounding rules, and of course, the progress on Bill C-224. So we have a certain group of core supporters that are very consistent, and certain voices keep showing up. So I thought I'd give a little shout out to a few people. Our star reposter has to be Gold Warriors Spar. So we appreciate that you're consistently reposting and quoting our posts. Thank you very much. It just helps to push the message a little bit farther. Thank you. Thank you. Tom Dienz regularly drops in with supportive comments like great information. Thanks for educating us. Thank you, Tom. And Sig Zirath, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. He's a retired chiropractor, and he recently commented that many Canadians find that nutritional supplements and herbals and homeopathics help keep them healthy. Meanwhile, the government tries to interfere, as Josh was just talking about, and it becomes evident that our government is corrupt and complicit with Big Pharma. Could be, I don't know. Then there's Grandma Bear 4, who puts it in real terms. BC has upwards of 700,000 residents with no family doctor. We depend on natural health products to stay healthy so we don't end up dying in the ER waiting room. And I can vouch for that. Here in Quebec, I've been waiting for years and years to get a family doctor and nothing yet. So good thing I'm
in the Yukon, we have 40,000 people, and I was just informed I was number 3,102 in line.
Wow. Yeah, I'm still waiting. It's been years, but
yeah, that's I'm in my 5th year.
Yeah, luckily I'm healthy, so all comes down to good nutrition, as Josh was mentioning, and walking often.
And great hair. And great hair.
Yeah, it works for the summer, the walking part, but I just have to go back to Mexico to keep it going for the winter. So we'll see what happens there. Loves a Blue Sky had this to say: far too many Canadians have no idea what Health Canada is moving forward with. If people don't know what's happening, they can't speak up. So start reaching out to Canadian influencers, podcasters, health advocates, and anybody with a large audience, and get them talking. Get them asking questions. Get Canadians paying attention. Thank you for that. And we also can't forget Dr. Marianne Ladaroute, who often has some scientific info and statistics to back up what we're talking about. So thank you, Dr. Ladaroute. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but anyhow. Facebook, Instagram, the energy is pretty high, very passionate over there. Dave Reading is often urging others to join in the letter campaigns to the MPs. June Schiavone is very thankful to God and to Shawn. Thank you, God, for giving this man to fight for us. A recent clip of an interview with Dr. Zoltan Rona. He was talking about good nutrition again, being more important than medication, as we know. And Lette says, in England, when I buy cream, it has one ingredient, cream. Here in Canada, it contains 4 or 5 totally unnecessary ingredients. And those products are in that cream because it isn't actually cream. It's a mixture of cream and milk. To make it all stay together, it needs all the additives such as carrageenan, which apparently is a known carcinogen.
Carrageenan
Yeah, I
is
don't know.
carcinogenic.
That's what
Oh, crud.
I did not follow up on it. But
In my previous life, I was a chef, and only partially way through my career did I learn that sour cream wasn't just sour cream, whipping cream wasn't just whipping cream, and often even 10% for coffee wasn't just milk. They have all these additives, binding agents, and stuff in it. Sour cream is an absolute abomination. The big brand sour cream, it's got 4 or 5 of these different crazy chemicals in it. And then
that's
just
nice.
right around the corner, I can go to the organic section and get organic sour cream that is just milk and bacterial culture, and it tastes the same, better, same consistency. They don't need any of this stuff.
Yeah, but you got to pay double the price, right? But it's worth it for your health.
Close. They're getting close. So products like that are getting very, very close. Butters and milks and creams. So, you know, and a buck extra is worth it for me. Although
sure.
I feel for the Canadian families out there right now under these prices.
Yeah. And also another thing, I live in farm country here in Quebec, and the local strawberries are red on the outside, and surprise, surprise, they're red on the inside. But the ones I buy in the grocery store in the winter, they're red on the outside and they're white on the inside. What's with that? Yeah. Anyway, on Instagram, there's a frequent commenter who is Linnell Lemoyne, and he's asking, will you be discussing what it means when big pharma and businesses like Nestle's are buying out supplement companies that were once trusted, like Genestra, for example? Will the formulations be changing? And will the price be increasing even more? Good question. I guess that's something definitely worth looking into. There was a good amount of comments on Shawn's recent Health on the Hill article in Vitality magazine. Shout out to Vitality. So Pam says, why don't they leave people alone? Shannon says, I would be bedridden if it was not for this group of heroes. I think she's talking about the NHPPA. Wasn't specific, but I think so.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Yeah. I now see the light at the end of the tunnel. They need to leave us alone. Another one saying, leave us alone. And Carol as well. She says, why can't Health Canada just leave us alone? I've taken homeopathic remedies, herbs, and supplements over the past 35 years. If there was any kind of problem, I would surely know by now. So she's the poster child for natural healthcare.
All right.
I still got time, Jason?
Oh, yeah, you got time.
Okay. Another one of the video clips from the World's Greatest Health Show had a lot of likes, was Shawn's interview with natural health store owner Kim Humphrey. And they were talking about the dangers of parsley.
Let me just give you another real life. This is a real life example. So Nature's Sunshine. It turns out that parsley has some positive health effects. And you know that, Kim, but don't tell me. I don't want you to get into trouble. But parsley, so the stuff you buy in the produce aisle, it has some health benefits. And Nature's Sunshine, long ago, wanted to help Canadians with those health benefits. So they encapsulate parsley. Now, it's actually safer than the stuff you would buy in, the produce aisle because they're selling it for health purpose. They're testing for heavy metals and microbes and that. So it's the same stuff. It's the same plant, just for sure, it's sourced better. Well, they try to get a license with Health Canada, but they can't prove to Health Canada that parsley's safe. Because don't you know, Kimberly, nobody's done safety studies on parsley. Nobody's taken the money to run clinical trials to prove that parsley's safe. Well, of course we can't license it. There's no clinical evidence that parsley's safe. And this is the madness. This is the absolute madness that Canadian manufacturers have to face to provide you with nutrients that you need or you will be sick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrible. It's, I think it's almost to the point sometimes inhumane. be it as when you think about it, that you're denying people things that are just really simple. I heard too that the Native Indians, that they're trying to squash them with any of their folklore and any of their herbs, that they're not going to be able to talk about it or use those.
Wow. It's pretty nuts. Thoughtfully, PJ commented, pesticides aren't safe, but are approved to spray over whatever they like. Letty again says, well, that's just bloody ridiculous, isn't it? And Sporty Gal says, insanity. Jason, serious question here. Has the world gone bonkers? I don't know. So we had a positive reaction to our new series on homeopathy. It's our new monthly series called the NHPPA Homeopathic Network. And Jennifer Searsant, who's a naturopath here in Quebec, actually, I follow her on my personal account, always very outspoken about what's going on in the natural health world. Shout out to Jennifer. Highly recommend following her, actually. Maybe we should ask her to be a guest on Talk Forum with Shawn at some point. Anyhow, Shawn was talking about a Quebec natural health practitioner, Annie Junot, who's waiting sentencing for, helping people and saving lives. So the catch is that she doesn't have a license to save lives. So that's a little crazy in my humble opinion. And Jennifer comments, this is why she lives in Quebec. And this is why I will no longer see clients in Quebec. The naturopath who trained me in 2010 was also just convicted. So you look up Khadija Lefebvre. And I actually did look up Khadija Lefebvre, and she's a naturopath who was fined $15,000 for practicing medicine without a license. That was just in April of this year. So another example of the Quebec government just being out of control when it comes to health choice. Little insane.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Silhomeo says, I developed a debilitating joint pain in my sacroiliac, and nothing helped except a homeopathic remedy. God bless homeopathy. Nomad Wildcrafter commented, I'm so glad you're talking about this. Health, in quotes, Canada doesn't get it at all. I just had a long conversation with them and they compared homeopathics to fentanyl. It's unreal.
Is he a practitioner?
Nomad Wildcrafter. I don't know. If
it's interesting. You said he had a conversation with Health Canada. I wonder what's behind that. Yeah,
it's possible.
Interesting.
That they were comparing homeopathy to fentanyl. A little unreal. So the whole homeopathy subject is quite fascinating. Don't forget, next Thursday, August 20th, 7:30 Eastern, we'll have our second live stream episode. And if you can't make the live, of course, we have it available on YouTube after the fact. So yeah, really what's striking in the comments is the volume of everyday smart Canadians. I had some stats here, but I think you already mentioned it. Well, we have 20,000 e-letters sent recently, 157,000 signatures on the Charter of Health Freedom petition, and 43 formal briefs, like you just mentioned, for Bill 224.
Activity is fantastic, especially considering that it's summertime. Parliament's on break. The government's barely working. Actions. So new actions aren't required as often, it feels like, and there's a bit of a float to it. But we've done, dang near 10,000 electronic actions during this summer. So congratulations to everyone on remaining so active in the meantime. Did we have other clips we needed to show for the feed?
I think that was it.
Okay.
Maybe I missed one, but that's pretty much where we're at.
Well, that's great. I think we'll wrap it up there. We're not seeing any questions coming in for us about NHPPA. Generally speaking, we're going to save our stuff until the September episode, which we'll get back to you on the September episode. Make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter, nhppa.org/subscribe, for updates on our next actions and when the next NHPPA show will be. Eric, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for
Everyone
having
in
me.
chat, thank you for joining us as well. And
Always
we'll
a
see you guys on the next one.